Good morning, everybody. So I've moved past coffee and I'm now on to water. I'm going to try to be quick with this video because I do have something I want to say. But before I say it, I want to thank both Andrea, and Wileen. It could be Wyland also because of the way it's spelled, but I'm willing to bet it's Wileen because women tend to be more generous. Not to say that I haven't had some generous brothers support my platform because that would be untruthful, but I think that it's Wileen. And if I got it wrong, I apologize. But I just want to say thank you both so much for your support. It is really appreciated. It is. With that being said, I am getting so sick of TikTok, and I'll be so glad when I can pull out of that creator fund, when they can give me my coins and I can just pull out of that program. I mean, I won't stop TikTok, but I will definitely be pulling out of that creator program. With that said, I did a video yesterday, and every so often I have to do a version of this type of video where I have to have this conversation with the white people that follow me. And, I don't know anybody's reasoning. I mean, I know why so many black people follow me, but I don't understand why so many white people follow me. Because my platform, it really is pro-black, and I really do have some very heavy, very intense conversations with black people. Now, I do garden as well, and right now we are getting in the process where we're starting to prepare the fall garden. So yeah, I can understand that. But when I have these really heavy conversations with the black community, I get a lot of white people who are always interrupting those conversations. And they interrupt these conversations and they pretend to be allies. And let me tell you how I know someone is pretending to be an ally. Because for me, it's always actions over over words. You can say whatever you want to say, but it's always going to be your actions to me. I had a very, 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 very bad relationship with the truth at one point in my life. And 10 years of therapy really will cure you of that, because you have to tell yourself some really hard, painful truths about yourself if you're going to heal in therapy. Because it ain't all about what others have done to you. It's about what you have done to others too. And you have to tell yourself the truth about that if you're ever going to heal yourself. So my relationship with the truth, it reset my brain to a point where literally all I can really do is just be truthful and live truthful. And it's what's better for me. So when other people, look me in my face and lie to me, or when they're lying to me in the comments, I mean, I know a lie when I hear one. People, that don't live truthful lives, they always think that they can, they always think they're slick enough to sneak one past you. But baby, they not. Baby, you are not. You're not. You're never going to convince me that you are an ally when actually you're not. Because let me tell you something about allyship. I know a little something about that as an activist. And also as someone who counts herself. I count myself an ally, but I really can't call myself an ally. Because it's up to the community in which I call myself an ally to make that determination. You know what I'm saying? So white people, you can call yourself an ally, but you don't really get to be an ally until black people say, hey, you are an ally. And it's more than words. It's actions. You got to put action behind that. I am an ally to the LGBTQIA community, and so I follow a lot of black queer people, gay people, trans people, mostly because intersectionality exists in those communities, because there are black gay people, black queer people, black trans people, and so forth. And so when they are having conversations and they're working out their issues, I know to be quiet if I find myself in those spaces, because I don't get to, just because I call myself an ally doesn't mean that I get to barge my way into those conversations, center myself, or tell them what to do or how to move or make suggestions to them. That's their shit. What I do get to do in the real life is, if I see a member of that marginalized community being attacked, I get to, as an ally, as someone who calls myself an ally, I get to be actionable and put myself in between them and the threat and the harm. I can repost their content. I can put a heart emoji. I All of that is supportive. It'll accomplish the same thing. I don't have to center myself in order to support what is being said or the person who is saying it. But for some reason, white people always come into my comments and say things like, I'm listening. First off, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to black people. I'm learning. Second off, I'm not teaching. I never said I was. But you have your own reasons for following me and whatever. You know what I'm saying? But when you come into those conversations and center and distract from what's being said, that's not allyship. Knock it off. Stop lying to yourself. Because you're definitely not lying to me. You're definitely not lying to me. I don't need, and especially when they're condescending and they say things like, I appreciate your perspective. My perspective ain't for you. Before I enter into a discussion that a gay person is saying or a trans person is having, I always ask myself, is this conversation for me? As an ally, as someone who counts herself, as an ally, I always say that. Is this a discussion between gay people? Is this a discussion between trans people? Is this a discussion that I have a voice in? I always ask myself that question. But for some reason, white people who are taught as part of being white that no space is off limits to them. And so y'all come into our spaces and our conversations and you center yourselves and you try to distract. And it's most annoying. It's most annoying. I could see if it was a subject matter for everyone. That's one thing. But when black people are talking, they do not need the input of white people. I know that you're not an ally. I know that you're not an ally. You are not fooling me. You're not. I have been an activist. I have seen real allies in work. I have seen them in action, and you are not an ally. Not when you're interrupting conversations where black people are trying to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. You're not being an ally. Knock that off. You remember that scene in The Color Purple? It was two scenes in particular where a young Celie and an older Celie were in the shop, and the white guy who was running the shop was just really rude and racist towards her. And it was a time when black people, we had to tolerate that, because we had no other alternatives. White people are rude and they are nasty to you, and we have to take it. And it's not, when Black Wall Street got burned down, it wasn't just because some white woman told a lie. It was also because white people used it as an opportunity to take away what black people built. And if we have choices in who we give our money to, then they don't have as much of it. Remember when black people, the Great Migration North, and how they got on the trains, white people, they hate us, but they got on the trains and beat a lot of us almost to death because we wanted to go to the North. And so they wouldn't have access to cheap labor. Remember during the war when black women stayed home, they could afford to stay home with their own kids because black men were going to the war. And they made that law and they said, black women, you can't stay home with your own kids. You got to come clean our houses and take care of our kids. Remember that? That's really what they're doing, because the white community got more than enough business to worry about on their own, but they don't mind their business. They over here minding ours. And the reason why they do that is not because they're allies, the majority of them. They do that because they want to make sure we're not actually pulling ourselves up by the bootstraps, and that we're not actually uniting in a way that takes away from them. If these many white people in our comments were actual allies, the black community wouldn't be in the shape that it's in right now. And that's why I always advocate that black people mind our own selves and concentrate on our own communities and get back to supporting our communities and each other. And again, I always have to insert that we can do that without hating other communities. The Asians do it, and don't nobody got no problem with that. They support their own communities, and nobody has a problem with that. It's only when we do it. And that's because we have $1.7 trillion in spending power. And 6 hours after we get a single dollar bill, we turn right back around and give it to them. Whereas in a white community, that same dollar, 6 years. Asian community, same dollar, 6 months. Us, 6 hours before we turn right around and give it back to them. Now, can you imagine if we kept those dollars in our communities? That's really what they're watching for. That's really what they're watching for. And that's really why they're distracting. And that's really why they're here minding our business when they got more than enough of their own. That's really what it is. These are not true blue allies. As an activist, I have seen true blue allies in action. And they not it, baby. They not it. Don't allow yourself to be fooled by words. It's actions. I'll leave my Venmo and my Cash App down in the comments if you want to support my platform. Thank you so much, and y'all have a great day, and I hope I gave you something to think about.